Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a topic you're curious about and really explore it using the sources you've provided.
Yep, the goal is to give you that solid understanding, hopefully hitting some of those aha moments without, burying you in information.
Exactly. And today we're zeroing in on one word, deleterious. What does it really mean? Where did it come from?
And why does it pop up in, well, some pretty interesting contexts? We've got a mix of sources here, vocab guides, etymology sites, history examples.
Even discussions about academic research and state constitutions. So our mission is to go beyond just a simple definition.
Right, let's unpack the nuances, the origins, maybe find some surprising applications.
Okay, let's dive in. Basic definition first. Our sources pretty much agree. Deleterious means causing harm or hurt, having a bad impact.
Especially, it seems, on health. And it looks like it entered English around, 1587?
Yeah, late 16th century. You see this in a few places like the Make Your Point source and the SAT prep blog. But here's where it gets tricky right away.
You mean the delete confusion?
Precisely. It's a really common mistake, apparently. People see delete sitting right there inside deleterious.
And assume they're related. Understandable, but nope.
Not at all. The Make Your Point source explains it well. Delete, that comes from Latin, delinere. It means to erase or blot out.
Like hitting the delete key, basically, wiping something away.
Right. But deleterious, that traces back through Latin to Greek, specifically deleter.
Which means destroyer. A very different vibe.
Totally different. So one is about erasing, the other is about actively harming or destroying. It's a subtle but pretty significant difference.
It really shows how language works, doesn't it? Similar sounds, completely different roots, and ultimately meanings.
And the sheer number of synonyms listed really drives home how negative deleterious is. Harmful, destructive, injurious.
Damaging, detrimental, ruinous. The lists in Merriam-Webster and the Make Your Point source are huge.
It keeps going. Adverse, dangerous, bad, hazardous, pernicious, even things like poisonous, baneful, noxious.
Wow. Yeah, that really paints a picture. It's not just slightly inconvenient, it's seriously bad news.
But it's not just a big pile of negative words, is it? There are shades of meaning.
Exactly. Merriam-Webster helps tease those out, like baneful often implies something poisonous or truly destructive.
Okay, and detrimental seems more focused, like it implies obvious harm to something specific.
Yeah, and noxious, that one's interesting. It applies to things that are both offensive and injurious, maybe to health, body, or mind.
And then there's pernicious. That sounds particularly heavy.
It is. It suggests irreparable harm, damage done through something kind of evil or insidious, something corrupting or undermining things from within.
So choosing pernicious over just harmful really ups the ante. It signals a deep, lasting, possibly hidden kind of damage.
Definitely. Precision matters here. And looking at the opposites, the antonyms, also helps clarify things.
Right. Sources give us beneficial, benign, harmless, innocuous, safe.
Useful, innocent, advantageous, favorable. You get the idea. Things that are good, or at least not bad.
And Make Your Point highlights salutary as a key opposite, meaning like beneficial to health.
Exactly. Good for well-being. So contrasting deleterious with salutary really sharpens the focus on harm versus health.
Okay, let's trace it back further. The etymology, where did deleter, the destroyer, come from?
Both etymon and word pandit take us back. Greek deleterios meant noxious. That came from deletera, destroyer.
And the root seems to be deleistai, meaning to hurt or injure.
Yes. And etymon even floats the idea that this Greek root might be older, possibly from a pre-Greek language.
Fascinating. And initially, its use in English was quite specific, wasn't it?
Yeah, primarily medical when it first showed up in the 1600s, describing things harmful to health, which makes sense given the Greek roots.
But over time, as Word Pandit notes, its use expanded.
Definitely. Which brings us to some heavier historical applications. Word Pandit mentions the Mukden incident, 1931.
Ah, okay. This was the explosion near a Japanese railway in Manchuria, China.
Right. But crucially, it was orchestrated by Japanese officers as a pretext.
A pretext for?
For invading Manchuria. Word Pandit calls the consequences truly deleterious on an international scale. It served as the casus belli.
Casus belli, the justification for war, right?
Exactly. So this event, which Word Pandit notes involved a false flag operation, blaming the Chinese for something they didn't do, had these incredibly harmful, destructive effects.
Leading to invasion, expansion, puppet states, and contributing down the line to World War II. That's deleterious.
And it highlights the failure of things like the League of Nations to address that kind of deleterious impact on the global order. It shows the word applies to these huge geopolitical harms.
It really fits that core meaning, causing widespread harm and destruction, not just a minor setback.
And Word Panic also points out how we use it today. Environmental damage, public health crises, negative effects of social policies.
So it remains very relevant for discussing serious negative impacts.
Absolutely. But it's not always on such a massive scale. There's that interesting example about 19th century scholarship.
Oh, right. The deleterious dominance of the times. Explain that one.
Well, the source argues that historians relying too heavily on just one newspaper, the Times of London, could be harmful.
Harmful how?
It could lead to a skewed or distorted understanding of Victorian print culture overall, a kind of intellectual or scholarly harm. Over-reliance creates a bias, which is deleterious to accurate understanding.
That's a great example. It shows the word applying to knowledge and interpretation, not just physical stuff or, politics.
Yeah, it's about harm to accuracy, harm to a balanced view.
We also got some more everyday kind of vivid examples. The SAT blog one always sticks with me.
To jelly beans.
Yeah. Dropping jelly beans into the gas tank proved deleterious to the car's engine. Simple, clear cause, and harmful effect.
Hard to argue with that one. And Merriam-Webster has some recent uses, too.
What were they?
Things like the deleterious psychic effect on LGBTQ plus individuals forced to hide their identity.
Okay, that's a powerful psychological application.
And claims about trans service members having a deleterious effect on unit cohesion, though that's noted as disputed. Also, the deleterious impact of misinformation.
Misinformation, yeah, we see that discussed a lot. Very relevant.
And even someone describing red meat consumption as deleterious for one's health. So health, social issues, information.
Yeah.
It's used across the board for significant negative effects.
Good examples. And just quickly, the grammar bits, deleteriously, the adverb, deleteriousness, the noun.
Right. And the advice from Make Your Point is basically pull out deleterious when you really want to stress serious damage to health, relationships, the environment, whatever it might be. Don't use it lightly.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Key takeaways on deleterious.
It means harmful, destructive, stronger than just bad.
Definitely. Got those Greek roots meaning destroyer, totally separate from delete.
And it applies broadly personal health, historical events like Mukden, academic bias, social issues. Anywhere there's significant harm.
It's a formal, quite serious word.
For sure. Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah.
How often do seemingly small things, actions, decisions, maybe even biases we don't notice, have unexpectedly deleterious consequences down the road?
Like ripples in a pond, but potentially harmful ripples.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Both personally and maybe on a bigger scale. So perhaps thinking about how to spot and maybe mitigate those potential negative impacts.
In your own life or just in how you understand what's going on in the world could be something worth pondering.